with your fingers there, the new post road, which was a requirement for the privilege of a post office, cuts a diagonal line across the two townships from the letter A in the lower left, where Ed's finger is, to the B in the upper right, where Priscilla's finger is.
And that helps us to date the map as well, if we hadn't had anything else, because the law came through in 1790, and in the next about 5 years, towns started building connecting roads in order to be able to have the privilege of having the United States Mail Service every 2 weeks.
This map has resided in Dennysville ever since it was made. It lived at the Lincoln House because it was owned and it was used by the Lincolns. It was actually, well, when we got it, it was folded, but if you look, you can see it was rolled, but you can see these fold lines, these crease marks. Yeah. It was literally folded up.
Actually, Carl, that's incorrect. It has not resided here all the while. It spent a year in Massachusetts being restored.
I was about to say, we did have to send it to Massachusetts, where it was this last year, where it was restored. The paper was flaking badly. The colors have faded somewhat. These roads were originally red. All these areas that looked like a dull green were probably a brighter green. These were all marshes, meadows, and cleared areas. They were important. You see the roads go not only to them, but often through them. Lumber was cut and then hauled to these in the winter and then hauled out on the roads.
It was easier to haul them across the marshes, the frozen marshes, than through the woods in the wintertime.
This map, which has resided in Dennysville, as we were saying, was used by the Lincolns to buy and sell land in the early days, and then it became the basis for all the other land maps. These two maps here are based upon this. This one to the right, sorry, to the left, is the plan of Township number 2, which is Dennysville and Pembroke. It's a little faint, it's faded, but if you look at the shoreline here, this is the Dennys River. We are right here. This is Edmunds down here. Keep in mind, this is the Lincoln's purchase. It was divided into squares of 100-acre lots, and the capital letters are divided the land between the proprietors. The Lincolns are usually L's, but the Lowells are TL's, Thomas Lowell. JR is for John Russell, so that everybody got an equal share of the land throughout the area. And then this is now Dennysville, and this is Pembroke over here. One lot in particular, this is on Layton's Neck. Layton's Neck is here, and then there's the Hersey Neck here. Just has the word Scipio on it. Scipio was Scipio Dalton. He was the
one and only
freed slave, the former servant of Governor Bowdoin of Massachusetts, who came here with his family, and he's referred to in the local records. And he settled on that lot. He was one of the first settlers. And then one day the family just disappeared. And they all thought he disappeared or they drowned or something like that, until someone met him on the street in Boston some years later and said, "Scipio, we thought something had happened to you." He said, "No, just decided to come back to Boston."
But you will see down in Perry, you know where Knowlton's farm is, Knowlton's dairy is? Before you get there, this side of Knowlton's, you can see the water down through there to the right. And that is known as Sips. It was sometimes called Sips Bay and Sips Brook. And that's the nickname. That's what they called Scipio Dalton. They called him Sip.
That's right there. And that's and right there, and you can see where the road dips down. And you can actually look the sight line right out. It enables you to look right out to Campobello Island, if you can see it far enough. When you're at Friar's Head on Campobello, you can look right down, and there's a little white dot, and it's the house that's in there. This map also witnessed the extent of the new settlement, fulfilling a necessary condition of the Massachusetts General Court for the original proprietors to obtain full ownership of their eastern lands. Dennysville was the heart of the map, because it was from there that the whole area was administered and all these land transactions were. And it's significant that the only places there aren't lot numbers is in Dennysville. Everywhere else there are lot numbers. But that's because that's where they knew where they were.
And right here in what is now Jonathan Melinda's downstairs bathroom was the office in which all these land transactions took place. So when you're ensconced in your bathroom, you can think about all the people that have come in.
A bathroom and a small closet.
Right. You can think about all these people who came and went through that room and signed all their documents and made their access or whatever.
Where does Route 1 actually go now?
We're thinking of
superimposing?
The curator here is thinking of making a little sort of ribbon line all along there where modern Route 1 is to help people get a little better sense of where they are on this map.
If you look over to the wall here on the left, you can see modern U.S. Geodetic Survey map. We've actually put 3 together of this same area. So you can see the modern roads. Route 1 is, of course, this big red line that curves, this dotted red line that curves off through here. But some of these old roads are still traceable on the map. And the post road, which is the one that goes from the letter A to B, part of it is hidden nowadays, but some of it is still. You can see this is the route that it traces, and you can still travel part of it and follow the route of the old Maine.
What was called the post road nowadays, actually in 1899, they changed the name from the post road because the stagecoach went there, delivering the mail, the postal service, and it was that year that the railroad came through and they got the contract for delivering the mail and they didn't go by road. And so they changed the name from the post road to
We are
Ridge
right
Road.
here.
The very first post road was made where the people from Robinson came to church all the way to Dennysville. And they made a trail through the woods, and that's that trail right there. And they made the trail through the woods and continued to do that until about 1811. The post road was supposedly an improvement upon their church trail. However, about 15 years after this map was made, a missionary, a congregational missionary who was working in the area named Ephraim Abbott, wrote in his diary that he came on the road from Robinson to Dennysville, and he said, "It was the worst road that you could ever imagine or that I have ever traveled on in my life." And he had been on some pretty rough roads.
Behind Ron's shoulder over there, those 2 maps on the wall, the reason they're there is that they framed this map in time. The lower one was made about 12 years before this map. It was made by Rufus Putnam, who was the surveyor that was sent by Congress to survey this area before these lands were put up for sale. And on the back it says Putnam's Old Plan. And you can see it's these 2 townships, townships 2 and 1, this same area that's on this map. And it was probably made on shipboard. We know that Benjamin Lincoln came with them during one of those trips. He came in 84 and again in 85, and he kept a diary. We had a program where we read from Putnam. Well, what did Rufus Putnam find? Well, that's what he found, and he made a record of it. But it was probably that map, because it was ended up in the Lincoln's collection, that helped induce Benjamin Lincoln to purchase these 2 townships.
From that advertisement over there.
Yes, the advertisement, that's right. And then the map up above was made probably about 5 to 10 years after this map, and you can see that a lot more of the property has been purchased and designated by ownership. And actually that was helpful in determining who lived here. We compared the names on the properties, the lots on that map with the names on these maps, plus another map that had Edmunds as well as Dennysville on it. The reason that Edmunds doesn't have property lines is that this map was made for the Lincolns, who were administering these townships. We have other maps that are on a smaller scale that are of Edmunds, and the finest one is over here. It's by Benjamin R. Jones, who is well known for his maps. In fact, Abigail Adams said, I always knew that boy would make something of himself one day. But here you can look at Edmunds in 1836, and you can see many of the property lines. This would be Dennysville, but here are all the properties in Edmunds as they're sold. Here's the Isaac Hobart house that appears on that map, and Hobart Stream, and they call it Little Falls River here. But you can see the property divisions that were made by the Hobarts over here. And the south branch of the Cobscook Bay comes down here, which is just by just between Ed and Melinda over there. It says South Branch to Cobscook Bay.
Right here.
Yeah. So this was a real estate map, and it was meant but it's also done with a great deal of beauty. This is Boyden's Lake. Because it's early,